Hello YouTube. Hello. Classic start. And this time I didn't wait 2 months to upload again. You know, I did not. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. And right now we're gonna be living one of the most loved characters in Tekken 7. I think everyone loves Xaioyu, right? Link Xaioyu, everyone loves him. The most honest character in the game. I don't even know why I'm labbing her, to be honest, because everyone knows this matchup. But yeah, now let's get to this very honest character. So Ling, I'm pretty sure everyone has experienced Link before, because everyone who looks up Link Xaioyu most likely wants to know how to deal with her. Most likely, because we all know Link players don't exist. They're the toxicity is off of the charts of the Link players. But yeah, so how do you deal with this character in general? So one of the few things I have to mention, I've mentioned this before in one of my vids. I was talking about whiff-friendly characters in one of my past videos, and Ling is actually one of the most whiff-friendly characters in the game. I think the second one I mentioned was Asuka, but so let's first elaborate on that. So what I mean by whiff-friendly character, that means that this character can whiff literally any button she wants, and if you try to whiff punish her, you can still get counter hit. That's what I mean by being very whiff-friendly. For example, let's say for example, something like this is one of the most whiff-friendly things she has. While standing 2. It's a 14 frame while standing move, and she can just throw it out as a check, and you cannot whiff punish this. And as for the properties, it's a counter hit launcher, right? It's mid. It's -3, so it has mind games on block. You can't just do anything you want. And it has the options to either go back turn or not go back turn. So one of the things is, if this whiffs, you don't punish her. You do not punish her. She's plus on whiff here. This is plus. Don't even get close. If she does something like this, oh, it's a whiff. Let me just punish that whiff real quick. You're not gonna punish that whiff. It recovers very fast, and Link players love throwing this out in the neutral. This shit, they can literally do this. You see this shit? I'm spamming it, right? And you'd be surprised how good this is, and how many people will get countered by something like that. So this while standing 2, like let's say I want to punish it, and I try to react to it. Oh god. Something like this might happen. Or if I'm like, oh, I have frames now, she whipped. You don't. 4-4-3 attempt, something like that. It might be too slow. So be very careful when it comes to that. Very, very careful. That's one of the things that has very fast whiff recovery. Something like this can whiff as well. For example, this is a little bit better when it comes to whiff recovery, because this is hard to whiff. You can step it and punish it. But even something like this can be very iffy to whiff, because most Link players transition to AOP after this. So it can be very hard, especially for a Kazuya player if you whiff punish with electrics. Against the Ling is one of those characters that you cannot whiff punish with electrics that well, unless you know exactly what you're looking for. So let's not keep on that for too much, because a lot of buttons that Link has is basically almost every button she has is very, very whiff friendly. Like something like Magic 4, even this is pretty decent on whiff. Pretty decent. Of course you can whiff punish it, but pretty good on whiff. Something like, I don't know, the down forward one's amazing on whiff because of the property it has on back turn, like something like this. And this is a property that a lot of Link's moves has, that when it goes back turned and then she does this and makes a lot of space. Same with 4-4-3. This whiffs, it's very hard to punish it because automatically it just high crushes. For example, let's make that whiff. And you try to electric it, it just high crushes, you can't do it. So punishing with highs isn't really an option here. If it does whiff, you have to be very fast, 1, and you have to use a mid. Gotta use a mid. As a Kazuya player, you have to remember this, that electrocuting isn't the best option. It's possible, but it's hard. Okay, so this is what you have to keep in mind when playing against Link in general. But let's talk about some other stuff, like the most common moves you will see and some common setups. First things first, let's talk about this move since we literally just mentioned it. So this move is one of the moves that Link players really love to abuse in the neutral. This is their check. There are a lot of properties that this move has. But first, let's talk about one of the most important ones. Which way do you sidestep this? So this just tracks you very well to the right. Whenever you step, doesn't matter how well you time this, this will track you if you step to the right. The only time you can step it is to the left. And if you do step it, you can electrocute. You can electrocute. My English is very good. But as I said, if you're too slow with it, they can just avoid it. So be a little bit careful. Also, the tracking on this can be very deceptive. It can still track you to the left, even though this is its weak side. So if the Link player does this too much, sidestep left a couple of times, sidewalk sometimes, you should be able to avoid and punish it. Like, don't let the Link player do this too much. Okay. Now that is when they just abuse something like this. A lot of Link players do this, by the way. Next thing is on block. So what happens when you block this? A lot of people think that when they block it, you have the frames and maybe go for a mix-up or something like that, right? Maybe you go 4-4-3, or maybe dash in into something else, like dashing down forward 1. A lot of people do stuff like this because they know that if the Link player just holds down back, they make a lot of space. So they dash in before pressing something. So that's one of the mind games Link has. So this on block has decent mind games. Because you can't use highs, for example, like 1-2. Because of the high crushing. You can't use this. And if you do something like a dash button, let's say you forward 3 or dash down forward 1, she has an option to counter you with this. So there's a couple of mind games when it comes to this move. But one of the most common ones I see personally, that a lot of Link players use, is this into this. This is very common. So this will get countered by 4-4-3 unless you're like super fast. Instant. Which I would not recommend to do this instantly. So if you do like dash button, you will get countered. Something's too slow, you will get countered. Or even if you do like a 1-2 string, you might get countered. This is very, very common. And why is it common? Because as I said, this move is not whiff punishable. You saw that? That was a whiff punish. And that was super fast. That was not a whiff punish. So that's why I do not recommend whiff punishing this move at all if you see it. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. It's never worth it. Unless you have the hardest of reads, it's not worth trying to whiff punish this. Because something like this, wait, I messed up. This, I'm holding back, that's why I'm messing up, wait. I'm not a Link player, guys, sorry. Something like this might happen. Let me try to whiff it. And they just make more space. And if you do something slow, they might just do that again and you get countered again. So be very, very careful when it comes to that move and setups like this. This is the most common one. This back there while standing too. Very, very common. So just be aware of that. In the other mind games I showed you some, like this one, if you do too many slow moves. And I do not recommend doing any kind of jabs there at all. If you want to check her, you have to do like a down forward 1, and most likely you have to do it instantly. Because if you don't do it instantly, as I said, you will most likely get countered. But there's also this mind game that if you do something instantly, it will get avoided. Sometimes, right? Depends on the mid. Like in this situation, she's very close. Sometimes it may just not get avoided, but most of the time it will get avoided. So be very careful when it comes to literally anything when it comes to this move on block. If you do use something with long range, like for example Kazuya forward 3, that's decent. Jin forward 4 comes to mind. But they have to be a mid. Do not do a high. And Kazuya 4-3, of course, I do not recommend Kazuya players to use it too much, because if the Link player is good, this is a punish for 4-3. So it's not a safe option to go for. So that's like the basis of 4-4-3 mind game, more or less. And some characters have better options, some characters not, but yeah, just be careful about it. Safina back 1+2, yeah, it might work. If it reaches this, it can be good. Unless you can block it, because this is the down back input. Unless you can block it. Okay. But now, the second most important thing, after the sidestep direction, is its counter hit property. This shit. So, a lot of Link players also do this, and do this. And this is guaranteed. Actually, this is actually guaranteed, unless you do one very particular thing. And it's the cheapest shit ever. It's very cheap. I don't know why it's a thing. But, of course, I'll show you guys how to deal with this. So, counter hit 4-4-3, this shit. Let's say I hold back. This is guaranteed. You can't hold back here. See this? Can't do that. And this is a very, very cheap thing that a lot of Link players abuse. Even if you stay back turn or press down back, you are gonna get launched. There's only one way to avoid this, and you have to hold forward. So you get hit by this, you hold forward. This is how you block this. This is the only way to block this from what I know anyway. So you have to react to this counter hit, hold forward, and of course launch punch that. Fuck me, if only my electrics weren't shit. But yeah, you launch it. So be very aware when it comes to this. A lot of Link players can abuse this, if you don't know. Can you jump? I think you can jump, but that's still gonna be guaranteed. Fuck. Let's check that out. Nah, you can't even jump. It's just guaranteed, you cannot jump. Damn. Can't even jump. But yeah, hold forward. Even if you could jump, it was not gonna be the correct option there. Just hold forward, block that, and launch it. Literally the best thing you can do, because it's launch punishable. You block it, you launch it, you get very decent damage, and the Link players there like, what the fuck just happened? I thought this guy didn't know the matchup, right? So yeah, very important. Block that with forward and launch it. Don't forget to launch it. It's minus 80. Okay. So that move, very, very important for Link players. Very commonly used as well. And I explained some of the mind games. Of course, I didn't say everything. There's a lot more. Especially back-turned Link. There's a lot more to it than that. And I'm not a Link player. But whatever I said still can be very, very helpful. More or less anyway. So the other move we have to really mention is this one right here. This move. This move is bullshit. This move recovers, I think, 1 frame faster than electric does, if I remember correctly. Either the same recovery or 1 frame faster. Which is dumb, right? I'm pretty sure you guys agree that electric recovers pretty quickly. But this shit recovers even quicker than that. Of course, it's slower, it's 19. But it is also a high. It is tracking. Exactly tracking, and it's a launcher. So if a Link player does get you with this just launches you. This shit, right? Mini combo. I don't know if that was the right combo or max damage or anything, but that's still decent, like 59 damage. So this is one of those moves that's very hard to whiff punish. Because it has a lot of range, and it recovers very quickly. So you have to be very ready to whiff punish something like this. Oh god, because the range it has will make it harder to use space correctly for a punish. Especially for a launching punish. Something like back 4 or forward 3 can be a bit easier, but I wouldn't even recommend those. It's very hard. Some games when I have the time, sure, when I'm done we can play. So be very careful when it comes to this move on the whiff. It's very hard to punish. And a lot of Link players might do something like this into Magic 4 because you try to punish it, then you get countered. Right? Something like this. So be very careful. That, or if you try to like use up your frames, like using a 4-4-3 or something slow, you may get countered about that as well. So this, very important to know what to do about this. That's about whiff. Now let's talk about on, not on hit. I already showed you on hit. It's basically something you do not want to get hit by. It's a launcher. Let's talk about them block. So this shit, unlike its animation, because it does not look a plus at all, it's actually +1. So this is plus on block. Speaking of electrics. So it's +1 on block. It leaves you close. Like, decently close. You're not that close, you're decently close. And a lot of people don't think this is plus, and they might like press something, it's like a down forward 1 or even a jab. And the very basic setup for Link players is this into a Magic 4. Right? This will trade with pen framers like a jab. If you do anything slower, you're just gonna get counter hit. Like a 13 frame, you're gonna get counter hit. And of course, it's a counter hit launcher, it's a Magic 4. I don't know, something like this maybe. Damn, I'm a Link player, let's go! Something like that. So that's a very common setup. That into Magic 4, for example. That 1-2. Stuff like that. They can use their frames because they're a plus. So just keep that in mind. Very important to know that. Ling Gang. What are they calling themselves? Ling Nation? So yeah, be very careful when it comes to this. This move, very hard to whiff punish. On block it's good. On hit it's good. Be careful. Very common to whiff this. Also, as I already mentioned, something like this for 3 is also something they can whiff. And these two. Especially this. So first let's talk about this, which this doesn't whiff much at all. When it does whiff, you do have a little bit more time than normal. So this whiffs. You can use your mid to whiff punish this because you have a little bit more time than the other moves. It's actually whiff punishable. So if it does ever whiff, most likely it will whiff because of a sidestep. Make sure to use a mid as a whiff punisher. If you play Kazuya, have to down forward 1-2. If you play anyone else, hop kick or and anything that's a mid, basically. Very important. But now let's talk about the important part about this move. It's an unblock property. So this move on block has a few setups, and a lot of Link players use this setup. So what happens the most commonly is you block this and you do a wall standing forward. So it's -1 as you guys can see, and you're both standing, not crouching. The wall standing forward check is pretty common whenever you get blocked by this. When the Link player, does this to you and you do a wall standing forward as a check, for example. You know what the Link player can do to counteract that is go instant AOP. And this is a setup, by the way. It's bullshit, but it's a setup. Because this is exactly what happens in real matches. You do while standing 4, it whips and you get launched. So be aware of this garbage setup. Disgusting, disgusting setup. So something like this to this is common, and the Link player will flowchart this. Alright? Look at this. Very common. So be very, very careful when it comes to pressing a wall standing 4 there, because this is a very common setup, and almost every Link player knows about this. That if they see a wall standing 4, oh, I can just AOP to a free launcher. Because by AOP, we'll just crush everything and anything. So be very, very careful. And even if you have some other options, like for example, Kazuya has wall standing 1+2 here. Even that will whiff. Most of your wall standing options will whiff here. Most of them, so be very careful. Do things like this need to be in Tekken? I don't know, man. I mean, it's in here, so we gotta know about it. Safina wall standing 4 hits low enough. Oh, that's great. That's great. So yeah, it depends on your wall standing 4 as well sometimes, but as a Kazuya player, for example, you have to know that does not work. And your wall standing 1+2 does not work. And if you do a wall standing 1, it's a little bit iffy. One of the best options you might be able to do here to like counteract this is maybe a down 4, but I would not really recommend it too much, because if they do see you doing it a lot, they might low parry or something, or down 3, stuff like that, But the other thing you can do is just have a hard read on it. As I said, wall standing 1-2 doesn't work, and just sidestep like that. Basically make it whiff, but it's gonna be very hard to punish. We'll talk about AOP and the properties on AOP moves a little bit later. But it's gonna be very, very hard to punish. The best thing you can do is like make a hard read or something. And maybe like float him with a delayed while standing 4 or something like that. It's basically a hard read. But it's still better to just sidestep and be safe. So be aware of that. Very, very important to know that. It's a very common setup. Now let's talk about this move. This is also one of the moves that's very, very friendly. The most common moves you'll see in the neutral is this. I already talked about this move. This. I already talked about this. And this. Oh, and this. Yeah, I forgot. I talked about this first, so we're good, we're good. Sideline, hello. So now let's talk about the fourth one. I mean, you guys notice why I call her one of the most whiff-friendly characters in the game, right? Because this is literally 4 moves already. That called out for being very good on whiff, and it's very hard to whiff punish. So this move. It is slow, it's like 23 frames. It's not the slowest ever, but it's like slow, kinda. So this move on the whiff is basically unwhiff punishable just like the other 3. Because one, it creates space if they do the up version. So it's very hard to get close and then whiff punish. Unless you're super ready for it. Especially if you're backdashing, you don't have time to just dash in and whiff punish her. Most of the time, you just do not. Because there's a lot of space to be had. So something like this, for example, this into Magic 4, can be a setup even on whiff. Because you're trying to get in whiff punish, or get in and use your frames. Well, too bad, you get counter hit. Of course, you can do it fast enough. If fast enough, you can actually counter hit her back, like, you know, 4-4-4, for example, Kazuya. It's a pretty good check when someone whiffs and you expect them to press anyway. 4-4-4 is a decent check. But just be careful because this on whiff is really good. And it can also transition into AOP. So, now that I showed you that, first I showed that it's bad to whiff punish it anyway. But now, you even know that it can transition to AOP, which makes basically half your moveset not viable. So what that means is whiff punishing this is very, very hard. So if you see this and you try to whiff punish it, let's say with the electric, it won't work. In some cases, even your 4-4-3 may just whiff. I mean, it depends, right? But a good move is something like 4-4-4, which will still hit. It's very low hitting. And it's like a good check in general. But as I said, be very careful of Magic 4 because it might counter hit you. Oh, and one of the things that's most important about this move to know is its damn range. So the up one actually has a lot more range than you think. You guys see this? This range is insane. When it's counter hitting, it has a lot of range. It will counter hit you from afar. Even though the Link player is safe, pretty far behind, a counter hit can happen. And of course it's a counter launcher, you know, something simple, maybe something like this. To the wall, to decent damage, right? Pretty good damage. That wasn't an optimal combo most likely, but it's like 84 damage, that's pretty good. So this is a keep out, which will counter hit launch you. It's very hard to whiff punish. And on block, let's talk about the block frames. Block. It's -3. So basically even on block, this is a mind game. Block has very good. Hit isn't the best, of course, it's just a normal hit. But still does good damage. +8, leaves you standing, so they can't complain about this move on hit. It's not that scary, but still, it's good. Counter hit, you don't want to get counter hit, it's a launcher. On the whiff, you can't really whiff punish it. Even if you sidestep it, for example, it is steppable. Something like this, right? It's steppable, both sides. You have to be very careful when it comes to whiff punishing it. Because as I said, it recovers pretty quickly. Like, she blocked that one. For example, she blocked that electric. Be very, very careful. So this, also a very, very common move Link players use. Very common. Outside of this, the other things you will see, outside of just normal movement, is this kind of shit, right? This shit and the spinny. How do you spin? The spinny shits. Spin this shit into another spin, that kind of shit to annoy you. Basically what that does is it's trying to bait you in to counter hit you or just hit you in general. Like this shit. This into AOP. A lot of shits that will just make you want to go in, but also make you scared to go in. And Ling is good at that. Ling is very good at keeping you out with these moves. As I said, very friendly. And you can't really go in that well because, you know, AOP is a thing. You can't electric that as much. She has very good high crushing when it comes to some moves. Like, for example, this high crushes really well. This high crush as well. Not this one. What's the move? I forgot the move. Is it down 3? Down 3. There you go. This high crushes decently. This also high crushes. Well, sidestep 4. Okay, now speaking of sidestep, let's talk about her sidestep mix-up. So Ling is one of those characters that also has a sidestep mix-up. Some characters have it, some don't. Let's talk about Ling's one. How do I like this matchup? I mean, it's not a good matchup at all. Not good at all. It's doable, but it's a bad matchup. I'm pretty sure a lot of people will agree with me there. So yeah, let's talk about the sidestep mix. So the sidestep mix is very simple. It's either sidestep 4 or sidestep 1 plus 2. It's a very simple but very strong mix-up. So sidestep 4 is a minus on hit low. You have to understand it's very important. Because this is -2, you can actually jab or magic 4 or stuff like that. Just be aware that Ling is crouching. Here. So she's crouching. If she stays crouching, something like jabs won't work. Right? It won't work. But you can still check her in case they do something like this. Like a magic 4, even a 12 frame one will counter this. But there comes the mind game. You know, good Link players will use this as a mind game situation. If they see you pressing too much, they just literally press one button. The crush button. This is literally their crush button. Oh, my opponent is pressing things. Let's crush and launch them. The crush button. This into AOP launcher. For example, you do like 1-2. And maybe not a 1-2, like a jab, you will get, you know, or a magic 4, you'll get launched. Even something like, I don't know, maybe back 2. Back 2 will hit. Yeah, some mids will hit here. Especially something like a Kazuya down forward 4 is very good against AOP. So be aware of the setup, because they can just AOP and crush some stuff. Not everything will get crushed, but it can happen. So that's the on hit property, and on counter hit, it's a launcher. You know, because of course this. And it does pretty decent damage. I think the combo is this into this shit. Yep, there it is. Don't ask me why I know combos, I just remember them. Don't ask me why. But yeah, be aware of this. And it has pretty decent range. It has deceptive range. You see this shit? Very deceptive range. Just hits you from very far. Very far. Why? I said don't ask! Where are the mods? Mods banned them. All 3 of them. Playing Link off stream. Okay, so very deceptive string. Not string, but move. And the way they mix it up is with this one. This move. Now let's talk about this move. This is also a very important move to talk about. So this move is a mid. Of course, obviously it's a mid. Duh. It's -7 on block, so it's not, you know, that bad for you. It's -7. And it has very good range, but it can still be backdashed in some situations, just like you guys can see. Like 2 backdashes will make it whiff, but 1 backdash is not enough most of the time. So if you double backdash, sometimes it whiffs. But it still has very good range. And it can be stepped to one side. A little bit easier than the other one. But it depends on which side the Link player steps. But most of the time, this has pretty decent tracking because of the sidestep move. You know, sidestep moves in general have a little bit better tracking than normal. Just a little bit though. It depends on the move. Like for example, the Kazuya sidestep 3 isn't as good because it's slow, but you get what I mean. Let's talk about on-hit property. So on-hit, this is like pure mix-up with this. Most of the time, you do not want to duck because of this move. Because what this move does is it gives her a very normal hit. Very normal hit. It's a normal hit launcher, basically. And good Link players will be able to launch with this. I messed up. Wait, maybe I can do it. I'm too good! Don't ask why I can do that combo. It's a little bit hard And most Link players, if they practice, they'll be able to do it. It's not that hard. Like, I almost never practice it and I can do it as well. So yeah, you do not want to duck that too much, but you still want to force them. These people, man. Fucking Twitch chat. But you still want to force them to, you know, use the low sometimes and use this sometimes. So sometimes you kind of have to duck, so be careful. And about block, this move, for us, for example, it's almost always launch. Because no matter where they block it from, even though it has good range, the only time this whiffs is at max range. Wait, let me do that again. Like this kind of range. This range right here, max range. Anything other than that, you can just launch it. As a cosplayer, mine's 13, this is launch, so it's a little bit worth it for you to duck than any other character. And if you play someone else with a like good 12 or 13 frame Punisher, make sure to punish with that. Very, very important. Okay, but we have to talk about this move a little bit more as well, because this on block actually has some mind games as well, because it can have a little bit of pushback. Like if you backdash away from it, the little bit of pushback it has might make a couple of players dash in before pressing a button. So a dash down forward 1 or a forward move, for example, can be pretty common here. Like me as a cosplayer, sometimes I even do forward there and get countered because of it. So this into a magic 4 is a setup that they do have. So if you do block it and try forward move, for example, you will get countered. Or if you do a dash into a button, you'll also get countered. So if you do want to check with something that's anti-AOP, something like down forward 4, because they can literally AOP anytime, anywhere, they just have that option. Or with the counter option like yours, but not if it's a shit one like mine. Like, look at this shit! I can't believe it! If you have a good magic 4, you can also use that. Fuck this move. Okay, electric checks. Electrics for the win. So yeah, if you have a hard read, you can also counter it. So it's gonna be very, very worth it to either counter it or sidestep. But I would recommend sidestepping there because it's a much what's the word? Safe. It's much safer. So if you block this, for example, they might do this. So if you do sidestep right, we'll be able to like punish it on whiff if you're ready for it. Something like this. But of course, that's not the only thing they can do. It's a Link player, and they might literally just go back turn for no reason, and I don't know, do Link stuff, or go AOP and just do Link stuff. They can also do that. If you sidestep, you give them space. If you give them space, they might mix you up. So be careful about that. So sometimes even just backdashing works, because backdashing creates space as well, and you won't get mixed up by a random, I don't know, back turn or a random AOP. And the magic of 4 will still whiff, and you can still whiff punish it. Although it's gonna be harder because you're further away. Okay. So that's about the sidestep mix-up and sidestep 1+2. Dude, this character has so much shit I have to talk about. I haven't even covered AOP yet, for fuck's sake. Okay. So, one of the things I want to mention here is the strings, then what strings, like, for example, this string. This string, you just have to know about it. That you have to know that after this move, a low is coming. Just have to know. But what I will talk about is this is a mind game. So if they do this, and you know there's a low, you will, of course, low parry, right? You low parry. But then the Link player can just literally stay back turn and mix you up with something like this. This into a mind game because you low parried instantly, into something like that. So this can work as a mind game situation. But that's when mashing comes in. Just mash. If they use that mind game and not finish the low, you can literally mash a counter hit launcher, like, you know, Kazuya down forward 2, for example, or your generic down forward 2, or anything like that, and get a free launch on them most of the time. They're abusing this mind game. If you notice them abusing it, you can just smash there. But of course, if you mash, you are gonna get countered by this. And surprise, surprise, the counter hit launcher. So something like this, for example, that's a launch. Surprise, surprise, right? So be very careful when it comes to that mind game. But it's still risky for Link, so not a lot of Link players will risk that too much. If they do, Play it safe sometimes, notice their patterns, and do what's needed. Okay, that's about that move. This is the one string that has a mind game to it. There are some other strings that have mind games as well, like this one, which has a high. But those kind of mind games are very simple. You either duck them or you don't duck them and let pressure continue, or check them, stuff like that. But not a lot of Link players will use the mind game too much with a high because it's risky. You just duck it once and get 50% damage. Okay, now let's talk about her back turn situation, because she has a lot of back turn setups. Okay, before we go to back turn, let's talk about her most common back turn setup. There are other ones as well, but I won't cover all of them. It will literally take... It's not going to be a speed lab anymore. It's going to be an actual lab that will take the entire day. So the most common one is this, I think this is the one, into a sidestep. This is one of the most common setups Link players use, and they transition into a backstep. It's either that or this moves. I don't know, I can't tell, man. Like, these two look too similar to me. But yeah, I think it's this one. So this into sidestep. So they use this, you try to check them, for example with the down forward 1, and they sidestep immediately after. Back turn sidestep. And the back turn sidestep actually avoids a lot of stuff. Like for example, Kazuya forward forward 3 will get avoided here. Back 2 will work because it actually has good tracking that side, but if you delay it even a bit, it will whiff. Something like down forward 4 will also whiff a little bit. But back 2 is a little bit more consistent. But if you think you have the frames to do something slow, a lot of the slow stuff will just whiff. It's a very, very common setup for Link players. They will just literally do this, sidestep 4. Literally just this. If you think you can do something slow, you might just get caught by this. Or forward forward 3, just caught by this. Down forward 1, this is gonna happen. Power crush, that's just gonna win. Down forward 4, surprise. That didn't work. Back 2 is the most consistent one here, but it's still a little bit iffy. Even if you electric here, let's say we electric here. Fuck! If only I could electric. This happens. Right? Upward 3. Oh, it's slow enough. Okay, upward 3 works, but upward 3 is just not worth it. I was just testing out random stuff. So this is a very, very common setup, but be very careful about this because literally everyone gets caught by it. Even if you jab, like maybe do 1-1 is a Kazuya. Goodbye. 1-2? Nope. 1-2-2? No. Magic 4? Damn, Magic 4 works. Damn, I'm surprised. But yeah, be very careful when it comes to this setup. Because I've been caught by it. That's why I know about it. I've been caught by it a lot. Now I'm telling you guys. So you guys know about it. It's fine if you get caught by this. It's okay. I've been caught by it a lot of times. It would be very, very embarrassing if I said how many times I got caught by this. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have got caught by this a lot too. But still, know about it and know how to deal with it. Sometimes we can back 2 check as a Kazuya player. Some other characters have a better check, like, I don't know, safe mid counter launchers. I don't know why people have that, but they do. It's maybe better for them to do that. Everyone has their own option, basically. But if you want to stay safe, just do a backdash or a sidestep. But keep in mind, if you do respect this and you don't press anything, they might literally just go for a mix-up like down 3. Back turn down 3. For example. And mix you up with this, which is also a safe mid. So, be very careful when it comes to that. Very, very careful. And they might also just do this as a mid mix-up. Now let's talk about the back turn mix-up she does. So this is one of the most common options. People go back turn, most common ones. But now let's say what they do when they're back turn. The most common moves they have is back turn 1, this move right here, which is BS. It's absolute bullshit in my opinion. Very good move, very good mid. That's why I call it BS. This low, which is also bullshit, also very good low. And this. These are the most common ones that I know about anyway. Like this, they can do this, but uncommon. Because it's, it's launch punishable. If you do duck it, you're gonna get launched, but it's also launch punishable. Not like Link players, very good Link players will use this in the neutral. Oh, and this, I almost forgot this one. So these 4. Now let's talk about each one. Oh my goodness. Yeah, let's talk about each one. So this move, this is a countered launcher. Back turn countered launcher. And it's safe. -5. It's fun. And not only is it safe, after this gets blocked, the Link player can create space with a down back input like this. So something like this is also a common setup. Let's say this happens and then they do this. You try to use your frames. Nope, no forward forward 3. Damn, forward forward 4 almost worked. Almost did. Too fast. But yeah, don't use something too slow. Especially like a dash move, you will get countered. So as a Kazuya player, don't hell sweep or forward forward 3. Fight off your urges to hell sweep. Fight it off. Because you are gonna get counter hit. 100% you're gonna get counter hit. And as I said, just like in this setup right here, it's very similar. So this, or this, very, very similar setup, right? They look exactly the same. So when this whiffs, be careful about whiff punishing it. Because as I talked about, literally the first thing I ever said was this character on whiff is plus. You do not have any frames when this character whiffs. So be careful when it comes to punishing her. And, I almost forgot to mention it, it has a mind game with a high. So if you do press after it, let's say you press it down forward 2. Because sometimes you can press after it to counter hit her or something like that. It's not the worst decision to press here. She will just counter hit launch you. Because of course it's a counter hit launcher. Why not? Into, I don't know, shitty combo. Whatever. So be very careful when it comes to that. -5 on block. Mind game with this. Mind game with this. Counter hit launcher. It's safe. Very good move. Now let's talk about the low she has. Down 3. Back turn down 3. So as you guys can see from the frames already, you can tell why I call it a bullshit move. So it's 60 frames fast. Unseeable, of course. +7. +7 for Ling. Not for you. For Ling. And you're left crouching. So not only are you -7, so let's say -7. You can only do while standing moves. Even my while standing 4 whiffed and Link did literally nothing. He just whiffed. So this is an amazing low. It's +7 low. And it's -12, I think. Yep, -12. -12 on block. It's fun, isn't it? As a cosplayer, you can't even twin piston this. You just can't do it. And on counter hit, it doesn't do anything, but it doesn't really matter. Because look at the damn thing it does on hit. Like, it really doesn't matter if it's on counter it does anything at all. It really does not. Because what it does on hit is basically a counter hit property. Like, it's basically this, but on hit. Basically that. It's almost that good. And also, it has a high mind game. I forgot to mention this. So when you duck this, if you try to punish it, whoa, counter hit launcher. Because of course it's a counter hit launcher. Everything in deck at 7 is a counter hit launcher. You guys forgot. You guys forgot. If it's a string, most likely it's a counter hit launcher. So you have to stay ducking there and then, you know, launch it. It's also counter hit confirmable. Yeah, on counter hit you can kinda confirm it if you're good enough as well. Like this. Because this move, the 4 is very delayable. Very, very delayable. A good Link player might be able to confirm it, so, you know, be very careful. It doesn't have a counter hit property, but just like GG Corp said, if the Link player is good enough, they can confirm it and get this guaranteed, basically. Because this on counter hit is guaranteed. Okay, that's about that move. So when you get hit by this, be very careful. Because, you know, -7. I'm pretty sure you guys know why to be careful. But since I talked about this move, let's talk about the move that's also very, very similar to this. And I don't know why Link players don't use this as much as they should. Actually, don't tell Link players about this move. They should stop. Don't tell anyone about this move. they'll start using it. We don't want Link players using this. So this move is almost exactly the same as this, but it's from normal standing instead of back turn. It's down back forward. Exactly the same properties. It's a standing move. +7. So this into this will literally trade with a while standing forward attempt. Oh, Changback, hello. Speaking of Link Nation. So this into this. This will trade with a while standing forward attempt. Which is insane, right? And unlike the back turn low, this one, this actually is a counter with launcher. Is it not? 4-4-3 doesn't work? I thought 4-4-3 worked. It works! I'm a god! But yeah, it's a counter with launcher on like a decent angle. That does knock down. On every while staying forward. Really? That's a bit weird. And yeah, on block. On block, it's -12. -12. Ain't that fun? A countered launching low. That's -12, and it's +7 on hit. Fun, right? The only thing is, its range ain't the best. I mean, it still has decent range. Look at this, right? It's decent. It's not that bad. It ain't the best of range. But that's why you use it at the fucking wall. You use this shit at the wall, and you can even mix it up with this. Literally the same frames. She has a death fist. This. And unlike Paul's, this is safe. So if you do duck, 37 damage in your face with a wall splat. For 3+4? Ah, this, yeah. Yeah, this is one of the moves that Link players might use for like crushing properties and stuff like that. Okay, let's talk about this one a little bit later because this is also bullshit. Yeah, versus Dick Jabs too. If they want to like low crush, they might use this. Yeah, for now let's talk about this move a little bit later. So, as I said, this move, very, very good. Hopefully not many Link players know to use this. And hopefully they don't start using it because, you know, it's a bullshit move. Especially when they mix it up with this. I'm like, what the fuck do you do? You can sidestep this, by the way. Definitely. Like, it's steppable, you can launch it, of course. But just make sure to step it to the left most of the time because it has very bullshit tracking to the right. But it's safe. So, yeah, good luck punishing this on block. It's safe. And you guys know what safe means, right? Against when you're playing Xaioyu, against Xaioyu. Safe means that they can literally crush your options or, you know, do some bullshit against you. That's what safe means. But usually you're still free to move. You love down back 4. Yeah, Chang, that's why you're good. That's why you're a good Link player, Chang. Please don't tell anyone about down back 4, please. Okay, so let's talk about some other stuff. What did not talk about? Oh yeah, the 1+2 at back turn. This is also a decent move that Link players use after back turn. And they usually use it to hit confirm. So they do this, they see it hit, and then they continue. That's how they usually use it, at least the good players. But first let's talk about the full string. So the full string is -11. You can 1-1-2. And usually you can also back 1-2 as a Kazuya player. But there are some angles when this becomes -10, if I remember correctly, so be a little bit careful as a Kaz. Just back 1-2ing it almost all the time. But usually back 1-2 does work. It does. But now let's talk about the mind game situation, which is the most important part when it comes to playing against the good Link players. It's buffed in Tekken 8? What? Not like it needed a buff. How was it buffed? But yeah, this move, like this, is usually what's gonna happen against you. If a good Link player does this, they won't continue it unless they see it hit. Unless they see it hit, they won't continue it. So the mind game is very, very simple. They might press after it because you're gonna delay your hit. So what happens very commonly is this into Magic 4, for example. Because you're gonna expect the second hit, you don't see it, and then you start pressing. But then your hit comes out slower than normal because, you know, you're hesitating. That's what's called, you know, mental frames. That's why it's a mind game. And then you're gonna get countered by a magic 4. So the mind game is very, very simple. If you see them mashing after the back turn 1+2, you can mash yourself. Like, fuck this second move. They might continue it, fuck it. It's not a countered launcher, it's like 13 damage, whatever. If they abuse this too much, just mash yourself, counter hit them. Counter hit them. Fuck them. Don't let them abuse it, basically. Wait, it's knockdown on hit, bro. It's still hit confirmable. Just like attack at 7. Free ground hit. I'm guessing this is guaranteed, right? I'm guessing. Is this the ground hit move? Oh my goodness, man. Tekken 8 is gonna be weird. I have a lot of shit to lab. Okay, so that's important to know. Now let's talk about some AOP stuff. And when it comes to this move, that's basically like her AOP move as well. This one. Wait, this right here. Basically the same thing. Which is also very, very good look that she has. Her Sabaki is buffed, so mashing is an issue. Really? No way. So the mind game is buffed as well. Okay, let's talk about the Tekken 8 mind games when Tekken 8 comes out. My brain cannot handle that yet. It cannot handle that yet. But yeah, let's talk about some of the AOP options Link has. So when Link is in AOP, there are like two situations when Link players use AOP. One is to crush something and launch you for crushing something. Like this is all the situations I showed. Like this into AOP this to like crush your while standing 4 and launch you for it. They're one of the situations. There are other situations like that as well. If they see you like mashing in very bad situations, they might AOP to crush some of your options and launch you for it. That's one situation where Link players use this AOP to crush something and then launch you. And the most common way they do this is they do this into the 3-3, not that one. This right here. This hop kick into a launch, you know, this is the launch. But now let's talk about the second way they use it. It's to like a certain level of pressure. It's AOP pressure, basically. So this AOP pressure is very, very scary. Because one, you can't check it with every move you have, like half your removal list is useless here. As a Kazuya player, something like a down forward 4 is a decent check against it. Forward 4 is also a decent check against it. But forward 4, I said forward so fast, I couldn't handle it, man. My brain just farted. But this is too slow, is what I mean to say. And this is fast enough, so it's a decent check. But yeah, sidestep right AOP, that does beat those. But other than that, this like hits low enough, which is, you know, what's important here. If you use it in the correct situation, it's good. But now let's talk about the AOP mix-ups that she has. So this is the hard-hitting mix-up she has. Some people do say they can react to it, right? And it's kind of, I can see why they say it, but it's hard to react to. Especially if you're playing a tournament and if you're playing on PlayStation. Hard to react to. You may get hit by this, and I even see people get hit by this on PC 5 bar, so there's no excuses. It's not that easy to react to, okay? Sometimes I can react to it, but not reliable. So now we have to talk about this move. Very, very important move to talk about because a lot of people don't know how to deal with this. So first let's talk about the properties it has. So this move, on hit, of course, knocks down, gives guaranteed stuff and some guaranteed, what's it called? Not flowcharts, setups. There are like, well, I think 2 or 3 setups here, I don't remember. Most common one is I think this right here, which will kind of catch you if you do stand up incorrectly with back. This is like a free launcher. This is common. Another common one, which Mr. Croft uses it a lot, for example, and a lot of Link players will copy him, I'm pretty sure, is they go back turned into this. Very, very common. And I think the third one is, I don't remember how it is. Crouch cancel down forward 2-1. Yeah, this one, the one I talked about. There's also another one that hits grounded that Link players use, but the most scary ones are the ones that I talk to you about. Oh yeah, while standing forward, that one. So this into while standing forward. This can also work. So these are the most common ones you can see. So the way to deal with this the most safely as you can, I mean, it depends on the option, right? So this, if you they crouch cancel down forward 2-1. If they fuck up, okay, they can fuck up, and you block it. And if they don't fuck up, it's very, very scary to deal with. So most of the time, it's better to stay down. But don't just stay down. You have to always side roll. So side roll either direction. And I think side roll right is a little bit better, but I don't think it matters too much. But then comes the mind game with, you know, back turn forward. Wait. And they can do this into this. So under no circumstances do this into a get up. So if you do this and get up automatically, you may get launched for it. I mean, I don't think I can showcase it here unless I delay it purposely. Let me try to delay it. Like if you side roll and you don't hold down to stay down, you may get launched if the Link player times it correctly. So the best thing to do here is very, very simple. You side roll and you stay down. You get hit by this, it's fine. Just get hit by it. Just side roll and stay down. And the way you do it is this, in case some people don't know. When you side roll and you don't press anything, you automatically get up, like this, for example, right? Or this side, you automatically get up. So the way you stay down is you hold down. You literally hold down and you're gonna stay down after a side roll. So it's very, very important to do this because you might get clipped in your automatic get up when it comes to that move. So stay down and just get hit by the 4. It's fine. It's way better than getting launched for free. But this is one of the options that you can do, which is, you know, pretty decent. And the safest thing you can do is also that. If you want to be a little bit riskier, I mean, you can still do it, but it's very, very risky. It's something like get up kick, because if the Link player does do back turn 4, and if you do get up kick there, you may get a countered launcher, you know, stuff like this. But this is something I wouldn't normally recommend, because this is a very hard read and it's very, very risky. It loses to almost every other option and it's very risky. But it's there, you can do it. Okay. But now let's talk about the second most important thing about this move. It's block. I don't see a lot of people knowing how to block punish this, even though it's very, very consistent for almost everyone. I don't know about some characters, but almost everyone can be very consistent block punish it. Because most of the time what I see happening is something like this. Like you block this and Mustang 4 whiffs. This is very, very common and almost everyone, you know, can't punish it because of the Mustang 4 whiffing here. Like this. It has a very, very simple solution to it. Very simple. But I don't see almost anyone doing it. What you do here is after you block, you literally scooch forward a little bit like this, and then while standing forward. You see this? You have a lot of frames here. 33. So before doing the while standing 4, scooch forward literally a little bit, just so your while standing 4 reaches, and then while standing 4. And that's how you punish it. Other characters may have some other unique options that, you know, something like, I don't know, Zafina 1-2 might reach it automatically. For example, right? Or something like, you know, Dash Electric might also work on it. As a Kazuya player, it's pretty decent to know because it does a lot of damage, like electric, right? Into this shit. It can do a pretty decent damage. But very, very consistent for almost everyone is the scooch over while standing forward. While you're crouching, literally hold down forward to move a little bit forward, just like this, and then while standing forward. And it's very consistent. A sidestep left. Okay, yeah. That's also very, very important. Okay, before I go about the sidestep left, let's talk about this move as well, because this move is the most common way Link players transition to do the AOP mix-up. So after you block this, it's one of the most common things Link players do, is to mix you up after. So let's do this into that, for example. So sidestep left, as the chat said, is actually a decent option against that. Because it does get avoided rather easily. If you sidestep left guard, that's it, right? Rather easily avoided. When it comes to this move, anyway. So be very careful when it comes to this move in general, but after this, you can sidestep left block and it is gonna get avoided. But she has a lot of other options that... Let's talk about this move first, because this on whiff is very, very weird to punish. But this... So let's say this happens. You can't electrocute. Obviously you can't electrocute, right? Obviously not. What you can do is do an instant down forward 1-4 or down forward 1-2. Something like this. So you need a good mid. But there are also some frames when she's considered floating. And if you punish too fast, sometimes it may not work. Like this. Or if you punish too slow, they might be floating like this. So be very, very careful. 4-4-3, I think 4-4-3 is too slow there. You need to be fast here. If you're not fast, they will be floating. That's why I would usually recommend down forward 1-4, because even if you're too slow, you still get a screw anyway. And not down forward 1-2. Right? But this, if you sidestep it 4-4-3, you know it's too slow. They're kind of in a floating state, and you won't get a punish on it. But if you do down forward 1-2, you do get a crouching state, which is okay. But that's why I recommend this, for example. Even if you're too slow, you still get, you know, at least a combo, at least something. While rank 3 is also buffed. I mean, I think in Tekken 8 everyone's buffed. I just Tekken 8. Okay, now let's talk about some other AOP options. The most common mix-up, well, kind of a mix-up, in the mid for AOP, this is this mid right here. This one. So after they do this, they might do this to, you know, kind of mix you up. And this move has decent tracking. So if you sidestep either side and block, you can actually not make it with. You have to do a very, very big sidestep to the right to even have a chance of making it with. But even that I would not recommend. Right? Like that works right there, but it's very, very uncommon. So it has very, very decent tracking. Even if I sidestep to the left, sometimes it might track me. Like that. You see that? Because what happened there is I delayed my sidewalk. If you delay your sidewalk, the tracking on that is abysmal and I don't know why. I delay my sidewalk, abysmal tracking. I just get launched for free. So what you have to do is instantly sidewalk to avoid this. Which is kind of bullshit. The sidestep left block should work, but yeah, it doesn't. It has good tracking. That's what they usually use to mix up with this, usually. But as I said, and as I showed, sidestep left block avoids the low, and you're just gonna block the mid anyway. So, it's fine. It's okay. But then comes the other options. Actually, before I go over the other options, let's talk about this move first, on block. So this move on block, it's -8, but it has a what I call a pushback mind game. Because it has decent pushback, like this. It has a mind game, which is like a lot of players, when they see something push them back, they go forward and press something. Like, for example, a forward 4 as Kazuya, forward 3 as Kazuya, forward down forward 1 check as other characters, something like that. That's what usually happens. And that's when a pushback mind game starts, because if you do a forward, you're sacrificing a lot of your frames. And that's why Link players sometimes do this, for example. Right? Or if you do a hell sweep here because you think you have frames. And even something like a down back 2 will get countered. Or down back 4. So be very careful. That's actually a setup. This into this. And they do this because of this pushback mind game that I call it anyway. And yeah, it's not punishable. It's -8. It's not even -9. It's -8. So be very careful about this on block as well, because it has a slight pushback. If you do want to check it with long range moves. So as a Kazuya player, something like back 4 maybe can be a decent check. You can also check it with something, you know, like an electric, but it's gonna be riskier because if they do backdash, it's gonna whiff. But electric isn't that bad because it recovers very quickly. So either do something with long range so they can't backdash or sidestep it, or do something that recovers quickly so it's hard to whiff punish it anyway. So those two options are like your optimal options right there. And it's basically the same thing as I talked about with this while standing 4. Very, very similar. Very similar. Now let's talk about the other mid option she has, which also has exactly the same mind game, but better. It's AOP 1+2. So this move is usually used when you know your back's towards the wall. Instead of them doing this, a good Link player will do just this because it's a wall bounce. And I'm pretty sure no one's surprised. It's safe. -5. So unlike the launcher, it's -5 instead of -8. So safe mid wall bounce, 19 frames fast. They can use this to, you know, mix you up as well. For something like this into 1+2, it can be a thing. But just like the other options, you can sidewalk it to the left. Just like this. Never mind, you cannot. What the fuck? Never mind! I think I tested it. Tested with some other character. Kazuya can't sidewalk it. Yeah, Chang, I think I tested some other character a long time ago. Yeah, Kazuya can't sidewalk it. So yeah, there goes your sidewalk strat. So sidestep left block can still work. But be very careful when it comes to that as well. Because if you fuck up the sidestep left block, you're just gonna get hit for free. And as I said, it's gonna be hard to do on PlayStation, bad connections, tournaments. All that shit makes it stronger. So be very careful about this. Okay, now let's talk about the mind game. Oh god. You can sidestep it to the right. I almost forgot to mention it. Instead of left, you can go to the right, but most of the time it's not really worth it to go to the right just because of this move. On the hard grid, you can do it though. But now let's talk about... What the fuck am I doing? Let's talk about the on-block situation. Now, as I said, it has very, very similar mind game as sidestep 1+2. Very, very similar. And a lot of Link players just use Magic 4 here. Because it's -5, you think you have frames, you don't, and you get countered. Right? There's something slow, like a down back 4, down back 2, even stuff like down forward 3, or back 4, you're gonna get countered. So expect that, because this is very, very common. Very common. So these 3 moves have very similar mind games. You guys have to remember this. This move, which is AOP down 1+2, sidestep 1+2, and AOP 1+2. Very similar. Yeah, I can use down forward 2, yes. And other characters can also use down forward 2. Especially if it's safe. If it's a safe down forward 2, I would use it a bit more as a check instead of mine, for example. Because my down forward 2 is unsafe and I really don't like using it because I get punished for it and then I get pressured and, you know. But you can down forward 2 there and it's gonna get countered them. Okay. Now let's talk about some other options, which are, I think, the best options Link players have, are the fast options she has, instead of these big things, you know, these big moves. The slow ones are actually much scarier, and that's why good Link players sometimes scare me with the slow moves. Something like this, for example, this slow, is way scarier to me than this one. If I see a Link player do this one, this move, I know most likely I'm up against a good one, you know? Oh, Stone Stitch, thank you for follow. Thank you. Or if they use... How's the other low? This low, there you go. This low. Then you know the Link player actually, you know, has thought about using AOP mix-ups. And now it becomes scary to actually do stuff. Because this move, you don't ever see this move being used, right? Almost ever. But I think it's a decent move. So when it comes to these other options Link has, she has a lot of them. Most common one being 2. Into a hit confirm 1. The common mid anyway, which is, you know, the scariest and the good Link players abuse it. And then there's this mid, which also good Link players will abuse, this mid check. This low check, and this low check. Which are the moves you do not want to see because you should be scared shitless if you do see it. Let's talk about some of them. The one is this move. So it has a very strong mind game. This is why I talked about good Link players using it and how scary it is when they use it. So first hit. So this is plus by itself, right? It's plus 4. You should be scared, especially at the wall because there's no pushback. You can't backdash out of pressure. Especially at the wall, it's gonna be scary. And of course they can check you with something like a wall stand 4. Or most of the time what's gonna happen is they're gonna continue their pressure. Now, why does continued pressure work? One is because they're plus. Of course, they're not that much plus. You can still mash out of them. But the continued pressure works really well because you can't really sidestep there without getting flipped by the mind game. And the mind game is simple. The mind game is the double low. So because of this double low, you can't actually sidestep here. So you're kind of stuck frozen. What that means is this into AOP is another mix-up that you have to guess, more or less. So this into this is the thing they can do. And it works well because you're frozen here because of the mind game. Because of something like this. And the scary part is, I wouldn't mind this, for example, if it was low parryable, right? If this second hit was parryable, on hit, I wouldn't mind the mind game that much. But you cannot parry it, 1. And it's safe, 2. It's -6. And not only is it safe, it also has an additional mind game on block. So that's why this move is hella good and hella scary. Random hop kick. I mean, if you have a hop kick, yeah, sure, go for it. But don't blame me if it gets crushed, okay? Don't blame me. So yeah, be very careful. The way you deal with this is one of two things. One is if you block just this, you can punish this. It says -7, but it's punishable. Especially at the wall when they're close. Right? Just be careful when it comes to some moves, because they're a little bit harder to punish. For example, my wall stand 4 whiffs here a lot, right? It whiffs a lot, but that second hit is more or less guaranteed. More or less. So be very careful. That's for just this move. I'm not sure how much frames is guaranteed there, but something like a dragon off shoulder, for example, can work. Or if you have a long range punish like that, can also work pretty consistently. But be careful about some moves, because some of the moves may just whiff on them. The other thing to deal with is the second one. Because let's say you block it and you try to punish it, it's actually a mind game on that as well. You cannot punish this. Even if you dick jab here, it does not work. So what you do here is you duck into a low parry. This is the optimal way to deal with a double low. Because if you duck into another duck, it's safe. And you can't really punish this. So the only way to punish the double low is to duck the first one and the low parry the second one. It's kind of similar to Fang's down back 2-2 string. Or is it down back 2-1? I don't remember. It's kind of similar to that. But I won't talk about the mind game too much. But I already mentioned that you're gonna be stuck here, because when you get hit by this, you're scared about the second one, you're frozen, and you're gonna get schmixed by some other options. Maybe another one of this, and it's gonna be a schmix up. And the good Link player, instead of doing something like this, or something like this at the wall, as a mix-up option, they will do this into a hit confirm 2. It's gonna be, you know, hit confirm into massive damage. It's gonna be more damage than this. This is not the optimal damage in this situation. So something like this into while standing 2, not only is this a frame trap, pure frame trap, it's also a mix-up. Because this into this, and this into this can mix you up. Especially when you cannot sidestep. Because, as I said, you're frozen because of the mind game. And if you do sidestep, you're gonna get hit by this for free. And she's still plus here. Imagine that, right? So very strong mind game, especially at the wall. I'm just glad not a lot of Link players do this. I'm so glad not a lot of Link players do this. Or this. This one. I'm so glad. And it's exactly the same with the full crouch low. This. So this AOP down forward 4 and full crouch down forward 4, they're exactly the same. Same kind of mind game, same kind of lows, same kind of everything. So keep that in mind. The other options I talked about is this. So let's talk about this for a second. Like this and this are very similar when it comes to mind games. So this 4-4-2, hit confirm 2. If they confirm it, they can finish it. And it's the same with this. This confirm 2. But what they can do if they see a block is just hold back. They go instantly back turn. That's similar to here. And then you're stuck there like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Now, what happens here, it's also very common. Oh my goodness, this video is gonna take so fucking long. I have to say this though, because it's very important. A lot of people get hit by this. If I don't say it, like, what's the point? So, what's important here is in these situations, when it comes to both of this, is when they go back turn, the most common thing they do is this, right here. One, that's the most common thing they do, and the second most common thing they do is the dick jab. Haze, thank for a follow. So they do this and do this. These two things are one of the most common things you'll see. This dick jab, I messed up to punish. Fuck. Because, you know, when this happens, you're stuck there. Where's the follow-up? You try to press something, and you get countered by the dick jab. Where was the dick jab? I fucked up. Where the fuck was the dick jab? Because you're hesitating, you're gonna get hit. Right? Look at this. This happens very often. And the second thing... Oh my goodness, why am I not canceling? Is this. It has the same kind of principle as the dick jab. This is slower than the dick jab, but it has more reward than dick jab, and that's why Xaioyu players do this. What happens here is you're gonna hesitate again, and most likely press on the delay timing. And if you do that, let's say delay down forward 1, or delay down forward 4, you're gonna get countered. Because you're hesitating because of this move right here. So the mind game here is very, very simple actually. Mind game is you have to guess if they finish or not. If they finish this, of course it's punishable. So bum bum, minus 12, back 1 2, 2 2. It works. Same with this one. If they finish it, you block it, you punish it. But the flimsy part about Xaioyu is the back turn shit. And not only the back turn shit, is just this. And I think I'm the most scared of Xaioyu players who do just this. This right here. Without doing this and hit confirm with it. With the back. The most scary Xaioyu players in my opinion are the ones who do just this. And I only see people like... What's that Korean Xaioyu player called? I forgot. But he uses that very well. Oh, FF, hello. Wake up. Yeah, that's him. He uses that very well. So instead of going for this mind game, he uses the other one very, very well. Instead of going for the back turn. But first, let's talk about the back turn mind game. My head hurts, man. So the back turn mind game is very risky for Xaioyu players. Well, usually it's not, because people don't really know how to deal with it. The way you deal with this is very simple. You fucking mash. You mash this shit. If you have a hop kick, do a hop kick. Give no fucks and mash. That's what you do. As a cosplayer, we have to do on forward 1-2 though. I know, up forward 4-4 won't work. It will not work. So if you want a big reward, that's pretty good. OS 4-2 with gods. I mean, the thing is, the OS 4-2 is not worth it because it's so... What's it called? Little reward. If you do 4-2 here, it does work. And Power Crushes work in general. But if you want high reward for something like this, because Xaioyu gets very high rewards as well, and you don't want to risk them doing just this, just this, you can't go for that. Sometimes I do, because Xaioyu players always go for the cancel. And if you do notice them doing just this, then maybe you can play some other mind games. Because just this is also punishable. This is minus 11. But I'm gonna be honest. Almost no one will punish this. No one. Not because they're shit. Not because they're shit. It's not worth punishing this most of the time. Because of the, you know, mind game stuff and a lot of shit. Like, holy fuck, man. This character, there's too many stuff. Justice is punishable, but yeah, there's too much stuff to think about. But trust me when I say, most Xiaoyu players will do the cancel. Most of them. If you notice them not doing it, then you change it up. But 99% of them will do the cancel. So, very, very important to know that. Okay, what else to talk about? Oh yeah, and that goes with this as well, of course. Exactly the same kind of mind game. It's just the frames that are different. Like, this is 13. Right? It's also punishable. But this, I think this is safe, right? This is safe. The frames is what's different. So the mind game here, that's why I say it's not worth it, because this and this, they were too fucking similar, man. It's not worth punishing the first hit, in any case, you just don't. So you can do a dick jab. If you do a dick jab, like something like, I don't know, down 2, you're gonna get hit by this. But the thing is, if they do delay it a bit to try to hit confirm it, it will work. I think it will work. I've never tried it myself. But the options you have here, the safest options you have, like right now, I just told you guys the unsafest options, which also give high reward, right? Something like that. In the mind game, it's important to know this. But the safest options you have is something like hold back most of the time, and then sidestep if you don't see them going for the last hit. That's one of the safer options you can do. Because you do not want to be pressing there. You like to do 4-4-2-1 back to down 3. Oh, this. Yeah, if they respect it. Right? If they respect this shit. Oh, back 3, my bad. Oh, this. Back 3. Damn, that's a new one. I don't think I've seen this. That's a new one. Yeah, that's a fast high. It can catch a lot of people, I do agree. But I've never seen this myself, to be honest. But it's basically the same principle as the dick jab, as the back turn while standing 2, or whatever it is. That just catches people either moving in the wrong way when they shouldn't be moving because they, you know, it's a mind game and they're delaying their actions. Delaying actions. Talking like an RPG game right now. Or, you guys know what I mean. The mind game here is very fucking brain... It's brain fuckery, basically. So, yeah, be careful. Disrespect the mash? No, you have to know when to disrespect the mash. You can't just disrespect the mash. Because the Xiaoyu player does still have options to check you. But that's also correct. A Xiaoyu player hates when you mash. A Xiaoyu player will literally despise you when you mash. They will call you a hater. Fuck this guy, why is he mashing? So yeah, you have to mash, annoy them. But you have to know when. If you don't know when, you're gonna get fucked. Okay, now let's talk about this back third move, which I forgot when I was talking about the back third thingy. So this move is very, very strong. Back turn 3. Usually it's used when you're back towards the wall. And even like mid-screen, like something like here, it will still wall bounce. Like something here, you get hit, it will wall bounce. Maybe even here, it will wall bounce. It has a lot of knockback. So let's talk about this move. This is usually used as a mid mix-up to something like, I don't know, this. Or even the back turn snake edge. They can use that as a mix-up. Like Kazuya 4-4-2. The thing is about this move, I'm going to talk about it right now. So this move, it's minus 14. It's something like a just frame 4-4-2 can punish this. But as I just said, it's a just frame 4-4-2. It's an actual punish, but I don't think I've ever done it. I don't even know if it's possible. Theoretically, it's possible, but it might high crush. But yeah, as a cosplayer though, what I would suggest on block is to do a 4-3. Yeah, FF 4-3. This right here. This is a pure punish because the linked player needs frames to turn around. And the only thing the linked player can do there is a back turned parry. So they have to do this into a parry to avoid this. Literally the only thing they can do. So if you do forward 3, you're playing a very simple mind game, but also very strong for you. You have to enforce this mind game. If they do parry after it, they have to commit to it. They have to. If you bait it out, you can electric it, of course. But that's why doing forward 3 sometimes is actually worth it. You can try setting her to back to that for 1+2. What's back to that forward 1+2? Oh, up 1+2. This one. Okay. Yeah, nah, this is a punish. That's how I knew as well. I'm pretty sure forward 3 is like a guaranteed punish unless they do this. So the mind game is like they parry or not. Bait the parry, you launch them, you get parried, it's no big deal, it's not, you know, you don't get damaged for it. So, very, very important to know that. Oh, Lan, thank you for the raid, man. Big thank you. We're stuck with Xiaoyu's speed labbing. We're stuck with this character. And we're gonna be stuck for like, I don't know, maybe 15 more minutes because we still have some things to talk about. Hiccup, thank you for follow. Big thank you. So yeah, if you want to punish this move as a Kazuya player with forward 3. And just like Karim said, I think Zafina can down back 1+2. Is it down back or back 1+2? I don't remember the input. I think she can do that as well. But I don't know about Zafina's back 1+2. It's a low. So she might be able to jump over this with another one. So that other characters' options, you have to check. But what I'm telling you as a cosplayer, forward 3 works well. Okay. What else to talk about? I know there's Rage left, but I want to talk about Rage last. I talked about some AOP options, the most common ones. I didn't talk about the less common ones too much. Like, I did mention this and this, but I didn't talk about them too much because, you know, they're like different kind of mind games. Because after this, there's a mind game of finishing it, there's a high here, and this kind of strings you just have to lab. You have to lab. Something like this, you also have to be aware that it's minus for Xiaoyu, -1. But I think this is a little bit underutilized because when I first saw this, it literally blew my mind. I never knew it was a thing. I think I first saw this a few months ago. The luck. I never knew this had a counter hit animation. Did any of you know this? Because I found this out a few months ago. I never see this used. So I had no idea this had a counter hit animation. I think this is pretty decent to do. It's not bad at all. But yeah, this is like a decent low that you have to do a -1 mind game with. Okay, outside of Rage, let's think about what else we should talk about. I talked about the whiff recovery moves, you know, like this one and this one. In this one, you have to be careful a lot versus this. Talk about some setups with this and this. Those two are the most common ones. Oh, this move, I forgot. Okay, we have to talk about this move. Thank Lord the Chagbank told me about it. I almost forgot and I would not have mentioned it at all because I think this is bullshit as well. And also thank God not a lot of Xiaoyu players use this too much. They use it, of course. It's a bullshit move, but they don't use it too much. So this move, let's talk about it. Okay, we're back. We kind of crashed. My internet kind of fucked up, but yeah. Let's just continue where we left off. Since this is for YouTube, we're talking about up forward 1+2. At 1+2. 3+4. Okay, so let's talk about this move. So this move right now, it's -3, as I already mentioned. I don't know if it actually registered because I might be talking to myself. I don't even know when my internet stopped. But yeah, it's -3. It's pretty fast. It's 16. So if you block it, be very, very careful about it. Very, very careful. The one weakness it does have, yeah, just like you said, FF, is it's weak to sidestep. So for a Xiaoyu player, the best way to use this move is when you kind of know that the other player is not gonna sidestep. And Changbag mentioned this as well. One of the things that you can do is something like this. Not bad. My bad. Wrong move. It was something else. But basically what you have to do is you use this move, or the Xaioyu player uses this move when you think that they are not gonna step. AOP down 1. Oh yeah, this shit. As a setup, because it beats dick jabs. That's what he was talking about. So in this situation, for example, some people might dick jab, and this is like one of the situations they might use it. This is like a high crush. So be very careful about this move. But the important thing to remember is the unblock property. It's just because you block this doesn't mean it's your turn. Let's say you don't sidestep it and you block it, and you're at the wall. In the neutral, most of the time you just backdash and you just go back to neutral, right? You backdash, it's okay, you're good. But at the wall you have to be very careful, because it's a mini mind game in -3. You can of course mash after it. Really, you can mash after it. But if you do mash, be aware that she has, you know, a counter tool with back turn 1+2. Oh fuck. Not 1+2, 1. What am I talking about? This one right here. Counter launcher. And she also has very fast moves like this, for example. Not that. Fucking... This time frame move. Which FF just talked about. Like 2-1. And she can also AOP after it. So be very, very careful when it comes to this move and block, because it has a few mind games that you have to consider. It's very kind of risky to press, but it's also risky not to press, because if the Link player just backturn and mix you up, you already talked about the backturn mix up, it's pretty scary, because, you know, this is an option they have, this is an option they have, and this is an option they have to mix you up. And, you know, backturn snake edge also a thing. A lot of people do say it's reactable, and you can react to it sometimes, but it's also a thing that you can sometimes not react to it, you know? It depends. It's not that easy to react to stuff like this. Yeah, 2-2-1, for example, like to the 2 string is what I meant, like just 2. They can also do the 1+2, which is a little bit slow, but they can also do this as a mix-up if they want to hit confirm it. RDS. Oh yeah, I didn't even read AOP. I was like, yeah, probably backturn. Probably he means backturn, yeah. So yeah. Okay, now let's talk about Rage so we can finally stop this madness of a vid. Stop this madness. And I'll have to edit it tomorrow, and I'll most likely upload it tomorrow as well. So, when Ling is in Rage. Holy fuck, when Ling is in Rage. I'm literally having panic attacks whenever I see Ling in Rage, because I think most people know that Ling has a backturned mix-up of heaven, of like good old, like this shit. It's scary. Okay, it's scary. Try doing a 4-3-1 Rage art. This is a 4-3-1. I don't know how to Rage art. Aren't they stuck in AOP here? What the fuck? Wait, I think I fucked up. I delayed it. What the fuck? I've been scammed! I wasted my time! Okay, anyway, let's talk about... Let's talk about this. This mix-up that Link has in Rage. So the mix-up is very, very simple. Very, very simple. It's either a launching low, which is unseeable, you know, this low. It becomes a launcher now, because, you know, this shit, it's a launch, basically. You should be scared. Or they can mix you up with any of the other backturned options that Link has. If they want to, like, go for high risk, high reward, they can go for this. Which Link players do go for. Even some good ones might go for this, you know? Mix you up with a mid, you duck, you get launched. Of course, you block it, you can launch it a killer. But it's a high risk, high reward option for lane. They can also do this 3 option as a mid mix-up, especially at the wall. This is like, at the wall it's like a high reward and low risk option. Which is good if Link players, you know, do this because, as I said, high reward, low risk. They can also do some other stuff like this or this, but you won't see it as often as the other 2 dimension. Like this and the 4 are the most common ones when you see it. But when it comes to rage drive, it's very important to know how to punish it. Very, very important, because it is punishable. I don't know if everyone can punish it, but I know it's punishable. For example, Kazuya can punish it, and there are two options for punishments that you have. One is something that I would recommend, and the second is something is if the Link player actually knows their stuff. So let's talk about this. So this on block is actually punishable. You can punish the Link player for this. What the most Link players do in this situation is they side flip thingy. How do you side flip? They sidestep with the flip. I forgot the input. It's the throw input. I forgot. There you go. There you go. So what most Link players do to avoid your punishments is that. So when you're labbing how to punish this move, first you have to lab if it works in spite of this. Yeah, the AOP 1+3, this one to lab this way, roll this way, or the other one to roll the other way. So that's what the Link players usually do to avoid your punishments. So when you're labbing, lab these two moves for punishments. But I won't like spare you the details too much, and I'll tell you how to punish with us. You have two options. Oh my, why am I doing? So just believe me when I say that even if they side roll, it will work. I don't want to like showcase it. Wait, actually let me showcase it. Don't believe me. Fuck me, don't believe me, I'll showcase it. So they side roll like this, for example, right? You can do this punish either side, and this will work. Down forward 1-2. And most of the time your down forward 1-2 will work. When I say most of the time, I mean like 95% of the time this will work. Even if the Link player is good, most of the time this will work. But if the Link player is playing it super safe, they can actually cancel AOP. And if they cancel it, then the rage drive becomes -13. And when the rage drive becomes -13, your down forward 1 punish doesn't work anymore. So you have two options. One is the down forward 1-2 punish, which I just showcased, which will work a lot of the times. Like, trust me, it will work a lot. Not a lot of Link players will block that, because they don't instantly go for that cancel. They just don't. The other one is the guaranteed punish, which I would recommend to do almost all the time if it kills. And the guaranteed punish is down forward 4-4. You do this, and this is guaranteed no matter what. And if it kills, you should be doing this all the time. But if it doesn't, then you want a little bit more damage, maybe do the down forward 1-2 punish. Because as I said, it almost always works. The only one who blocked this was Shangbang. Down forward 1-2. He taught me that it was cancelable, this AOP. He was the one who taught me it was cancelable. I didn't even know because no one blocked it before. That's just how little players do that cancel after rage drive. They just won't do it. So down forward 1-2 is pretty decent. Very, very good. But if you want a a guaranteed punish, down forward 4-4 is the way to go. Skill. Actually skill, Changbang. Actually skill. But yeah, I think that's about it. I think that's about it. Knowledge checks. I mean, Ling is knowledge check the character. No. But yeah, YouTube, thank you for watching. Big thank you. I know this is a little bit cut up because my internet fucked up in the middle of the recording, but it's fine, whatever. As long as the message goes across, you know, we good. And I'll see you guys in the next video.